My name is Arunima Chaudhari, and today I will be taking a session on navigating open source for beginners. So, let's get started. So, starting with a bit about myself, I am a final year student and I am pursuing BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from GCCT Kolkata. Apart from that, I am involved with a lot of open source programs. I'm currently an LFX mentee at Hyperledger. I'm also a maintainer at anitaB.org open source and a technical coach there. I have been a Harvard Women Engineers Code Tech Fellow, but I also received the Distinguished Fellow Award for being a good performer in the program. Apart from that, I have been an MLH Fellow in the Software Engineering track, where I worked with Solana Labs in a blockchain based project. I also received the Linux Foundation and Training Scholarship in the Women in Open Source category. And apart from that, I have contributed to a lot of open source projects like CNCF, Layer 5, Meshery, AnitaB.org, and many other such open source communities. So let's get started. At first, what comes in our mind is that what is open source? So, open source is a term that originally referred to open source software (OSS). Open source software is any code that is designed to be publicly accessible. Anyone, even we, can see it, modify it, distribute it, contribute to it. So let's say you write the code of any project and make it publicly available for everyone to see on your GitHub. So now the code is open source and the project is also an open source. So that's what open source is about. So it is very important to understand that open source is developed in a decentralized and collaborative way, relying on peer review and community production. Collaboration is the heart of open source. All open source communities are very collaborative and very welcoming for everyone from all around the globe. And also, open source software is often cheaper, more flexible, and has more longevity than its proprietary peers. Uh, and the reason is very simple because it is developed by communities through collaboration rather than a single author or company. So, one of the most common questions that I get from a lot of people, of lot of students on LinkedIn is that how to navigate large code bases. I agree, the code bases, the large code bases of these projects is often confusing. So if this large code bases confuses you and you want to understand how to navigate these code bases and get started with contributing to open source projects, then stay with me. I will be sharing my journey of how I got started bit by bit from small contributions to making big contributions and finally getting selected in this open source programs. So, before starting contributing to open source, the first thing that you should do is upskill yourself in the tech stack you want to contribute. By upskilling, I don't mean that you have to be an expert in that tech stack, just have a basic understanding to get started. Uh, you don't have to like pay for any courses. I think to get a basic level knowledge, already there are a lot of sources available on the internet to help you get started, and I think having a good basic understanding is enough to get started, and then you can learn on the go. So I had a huge interest in web development. So all my contributions are mainly to web based projects. And the resources that I used for preparing, getting a basic understanding of web development is W3 Schools, MDN Docs, and Free Code Camp. And depending on the tech stack you are interested in, you can search for the free resources on the internet and get a basic level understanding to get started with contributing. The next thing that comes when we think about contributing to open source is joining communities. So I personally got to know a lot about a lot of open source communities from the GSOC website. And the GSOC website has an amazing feature to filter communities and projects based on the tech stack, based on the language. So let's say I'm interested in web development based projects. So I can go to the website and apply that filter, web dev, and see what are the communities that have the projects around web development. So you can find those communities and join their public channels. Twitter is also a great place to find communities, joining the Twitter circles and interacting with folks on Twitter who are a part of those communities can also help you know about a lot of communities, and then you can join the communities of your preference according to your passion and your interest. So when you find out about a community, so let's say I am taking the example of anitaB.org. So the first thing that you should do when you find out about a community and now you're interested in knowing more about it and contribute to it is that you should join their public channels. So, for example, anitaB.org had their open source community. The open source community had their public channel on Zulip. So make sure you find out that what is the place that the folks in that open source community interact and collaborate. So it can be Discord, it can be Slack, it can be Zulip, or it can be even a mailing list. So make sure you join that. After that, I think every open source community has their own code of conduct. So make sure that before starting to interact and before starting to randomly raise issues, be patient and spend 2 to 3 days observing things and reading the code of conduct properly. So don't be in a rush when it comes to open source. Be patient, take small steps. That is what will make you shine in the long run. So the first thing that you should do after joining the public channels is read the code of conduct properly. So what are their rules? How do they interact? How do they raise issues? And how is the contribution process like in that community? It is different for different communities. So make sure that you read the code of conduct properly to know how collaboration occurs there. After that, it is important that you introduce yourself in the community. So every community has their public channels. So make sure you go join the public channel and introduce yourself. Now by introducing, I don't mean just write your name, your place of birth, and your college. No, you should also, of course, you should write your name, your background, and other things. But apart from that, you should also mention what are your current skill sets, what are your interests, and what are you looking for in the community. Now, why is this important is that if you clearly see that these are my skills, I mean, this is what I know, this is what I'm interested in learning, and this is what I am looking for in the community, it will help the maintainers or the members of the community there to help you guide it will help them to guide you to get started with contributing. So when you say that I have a skill set in web development and I'm really passionate about making responsive websites. So then if there is an issue in the website where certain changes needs to be made to increase the responsiveness or to increase the loading time of the website, then the maintainers or the members will point you to the issue, and in this way you can get started with contributing. Almost all the communities also have their community meetings. So if the community that you are joining has a regular community meeting or a schedule, then make sure that you add that to your Google's calendar and get started by attending them. The next thing that you should do is subscribe to the newsletter. So every community has the newsletter. So the newsletter can come in any form. It can be you can maybe get the newsletter when you sign up for a membership, or maybe you just have to normally sign up for the newsletter. So make sure if we have a free membership or a newsletter, make sure you sign up for that to get stay updated with what is happening with the community. And this is very useful. Often if volunteering opportunities open up in the community, they share that through the newsletter. So in that way you can know about what are the opportunities that is coming up in the community, if they're participating in any open source programs or not, if they're offering any internships or not. So make sure you sign up to the newsletter and take up the free membership if there is any, so that you can stay updated with what is happening in the community and don't miss out on any opportunity. So most of the open source communities also participate in various events and conferences. And I can understand, and it happened with me also. The student, it's not possible to pay for the tickets and paid events. So if you also have the same problem, then make sure that you timely apply for the scholarships and get those free conferences pass for attending the events. These are great networking opportunity. You get to meet with a lot of amazing people, and who knows, you might land your next internship or job from one of the connections that you make through these events and conferences. So these events are packed with a lot of knowledge. You get to learn a lot. You get to connect with a lot of amazing people from all around the world. So make sure you don't miss out on the opportunity, and apply for scholarships to attend the events. So coming to the next thing is that, as I said, that it's very important to be patient while contributing to open source. So before jumping into contributing or making a pull request, start observing the activities that are going on in the community. Like how are the code reviews taking place? How someone is raising a pull request? How they are structuring the PR, and how is the review process going on, how is the pull request finally getting merged, so and how people communicate with each other in the communities. So this is very important to understand, and it will help you uh, get a better understanding of the community, and then make good contributions that are actually beneficial for the community. It will help you in understanding what the community wants from you as a contributor. And making, I think this is very important, that good contributions matter. So if you are making a good let's say you are adding a dark mode to the entire website, so good contributions which are well structured matters rather than making some random contributions. So it's okay to make few mistakes in the beginning, but make sure that you observe things and then then contribute. It will help you in making good contributions that are actually beneficial for the community. Another thing from which I learned a lot, and I get a lot of these questions, are how to understand the repository structure, and how to start contributing, how to understand which files to make the changes. So the open source repositories generally have a lot of files. Now, how to understand that file, in which file should we make the changes? For me, this has always worked, and I want to share it with all of you, that look at the merged pull request. So if you're making a change on a navigation menu, just go through the merged pull request and apply and just type their navigation menu and search and see what are the pull requests that have made some previous changes on the navigation menu. This will help you a lot in understanding that what are the issues that were with the navigation menu, how were they solved, which files to make the changes to, and how to structure the PR. So looking at the merged pull request gave me an idea of the code base structure and how to solve issues. So I think this is the most important thing that you can take from this session, that look at the merged pull request if you want to learn about the code base and the structure and how to solve issues. So generally, if you're having a problem in start getting started with contributing to code issues, then you can start by correcting typos, spelling and grammar errors, improving docs, adding some hyperlinks, and many more. So correcting grammar and typos is okay, but you can also make some meaningful contributions in the docs as well. So let's say while you're working on Windows, you find out some issue and some error that you are facing that has not been mentioned in the documentation, that how to deal with this type of error. You can ask in the community that this is the error I am facing, this is how I solved it, and this is something that is not mentioned in the docs. But if someone is working with Windows, there is a high chance that that person will go through face this error. So you can add an error handling section or anything on how to deal with that error to the documentation. So apart from correcting spelling and grammar errors, you can also improve the docs in a lot of ways, like adding diagrams, flow charts, you know, restructuring this long paragraphs into points. There are a lot of ways you can improve the doc, so make sure you point out that those areas and start contributing. So now comes the major part, that how to get started with solving complex issues. So the basics are easy, like improving documentation, making a few minor changes in the code piece, like maybe adding a margin or some minor, or adding some error messages or anything. So once you have solved 2 to 3 good first issues, and now you want to move to a solving more complex issues. So let's understand how we can do that. So before you want to like get started with complex issues, it's very important that you use the product well. By using the product well, I mean that you should know what are the various features and what are the features for. So let's say that you want to contribute to the code base of WhatsApp and you don't know what the blue ticks are there for, what is a double tick for. If you don't know, then you will face difficulty in contributing. So, the first and the most important thing in solving complex issues is that use the product well. So, if I am contributing to a web development based project, I make sure that I explore the website properly, use the inspect element to navigate the various elements of the website, and understand as much as I can. The next thing that you can do to get started with solving complex issues is that go through the project documentation really well. If the community participates in some conferences, there will always be some conference talks related to that project. So make sure that you listen to those talks. And finally, read the contributing guidelines and the code of conduct very well to understand how the contribution takes place in the for the project and for the community. So these are the few things that you can do in the beginning when you are thinking of getting started with solving complex issues. So the next step after using the product well is to set up the project in the local system. So generally the readme.md file or the contributing.md file has clear instructions for setting up the project in your local system. Now this task is not easy. In most of the cases you will get a lot of errors while setting up the project. So make sure you use the internet, Stack Overflow website little bit. Give some efforts from your side to figure out how to solve the errors. But if you are getting errors and you're unable to solve them for a day or two, then ask the public channels and ask in the public channel for help. Why I'm saying is that getting stuck, maybe the issue that you're facing, with some minor changes you can actually solve the issue and someone else has already solved that issue. So it makes no sense to try keep on trying for 10 days to figure out how to solve the issue which someone else has already done. So if after trying for 1 to 2 days you are unable to solve the issue, make sure you ask the public channels for help. While asking, make sure that you add enough details of the issue that you're facing, the error messages, the screenshots, and any relevant thing that will help others to help you. While you're contributing to open source, so open source software, as I said in the beginning, is developed in a collaborative way. So make sure while having any doubts, you ask in the public channel and avoid texting the maintainers personally until unless it has some details that you can't send in the public channels, then you can text the maintainers obviously, but otherwise avoid texting the maintainers personally, because anyone in the community can help you, not only the maintainers, anyone can help you. And also when they help you, that answers that let's say you ask a question and someone answers to it, this answer will also help a lot of other contributors later who will start contributing to the project. So always use the public channel to ask any questions, don't text anyone personally. So yes, as I said, I contribute mainly to the web development based project. So I use the inspect element a lot to navigate the code base and understand the repository structure by searching the class names, or by searching the by searching class names, or searching the elements or anything. So make sure that whatever way that whatever tech stack you are contributing to, make sure that you navigate the code base according to the requirements. And again, as I said, that referring to the merged PRs to see how previous issues has been solved. So this also gives always gave me an idea on what are the types of bugs and feature requests that have been addressed in the past and how they were addressed. So again, looking at the merged PRs can help you understand a lot about the project, the repository structure, the code base, and how to contribute. So make sure that you look at them and learn from them. And okay, so this is very important. Before jumping on to make some big contribution, make sure that you solve at least two to three good first issues in a project, and then slowly make better contributions in the project. So if you start by making a big contribution, one thing is that maybe you have to make changes in a lot of files, and it will be a big PR. Another thing is that if you're not able to solve the issue and it might lower your confidence. So it is always good to start from the basics and then slowly move ahead. So start by solving two to three good first issues, at least two to three good first issues, before moving on to solving more complex issues. So, how did this help me? Is that solving a few good first issues in the beginning. First is that it added value to the project, and second is that when the PRs get merged, it always uplifted my confidence. And after solving a few simple issues, then you can move on to solving a bit difficult one, but in the same project. Don't start contributing to another project. Make sure that you make sufficient, stick to one project or maximum two to three in a community and make some good contributions there. If you just continue solving good first issues in every project and don't slowly move towards solving complex issues, then you might not learn so much. So make sure that you stick to one to two projects, and then in those projects, from the good first issues, you go on to solve more difficult issues and make some better contributions there. Another thing is that always communicate with other contributors, ask for help when required. So I remember when I was an MLH fellow, I was very new to blockchain, and one of the first things that our mentors, our board leaders said was that if you are stuck in an issue for more than a day, just probably the time that you should ask for help. So don't stay stuck at the same place for days and days. Ask for help. Always give some minimum efforts from your side, like Google it, read the documentation well, search if that issue is somewhere documented. If not, then ask for help in the public channel. Okay, so now this part is about asking questions. So always ask good questions. So you should not just write that I'm facing this error, how to solve it. No, this is not a good way of asking a question. First point when you are doing facing an issue is that do some bit of research from your side and try the solving the issue on your own. So if I could not get any idea of an issue, most of the time I found out is that it is because I couldn't understand the technical terms used in the description. So Google them. If you are not understanding how to go about solving an issue, most of the time it might be because in my case it was because I couldn't understand the technical terms. So I Googled them. Try to break a big task into small chunks of task and focus on each part at a time. And again, refer to the past issues on the same topic and how they were solved. How they were solved is that looking at the PRs. Okay, so now it is, let me see. Okay, so here only. Now, what I mean by asking good questions. So when you ask a question, first of all, write about the error that you are facing. Then write about what efforts have you done from your side to solve the issue. Also add relevant screenshots of the error. Why this is important is that it will add enough details and it will help others to help you. So if you give sufficient details about the issue that you are facing, that then it will help others also understand the issue and help you proper in a proper way. Another thing is that patience is the key to open source. So in open source communities, most of the time it is that people are volunteering, so they have some full-time job, and apart from that they are contributing to these open source projects. So make sure that you have patience. It might take some time for them, for the maintainers to get back to you and answer a question or review a PR. So, and also it may take months to get a PR merged. So make sure that you have patience. Also, while contributing, remember that you should follow the project's code style and submit your contributions in a way that is consistent with the project's development process. What I mean that is that, let's say there are different ways that you can write a function in JavaScript, but if all the functions in that page are written in a certain way, make sure that you also write it in that way so that it matches the code style. So yes, before making code changes, it's very important that you understand the project code style and then submit your contributions in that way. And yes, this is very important to remember while you're contributing to open source projects, that patience and consistency is the key. You have to be patient. Initially, as I said, that you might not understand the code base, so make sure that you stick there. You start by making small contributions and slowly move towards making bigger contributions. Also, when you contribute, it might take some time for the maintainers to get back to you. So be patient. Small efforts done regularly is what will make you shine in open source. So be patient and contribute consistently. And thank you, everyone. So you can connect with me on Twitter, GitHub, and LinkedIn. I try answering as much questions as I can from my side. So if you have any questions regarding any of the programs that I have been a part of, or any other doubts regarding this session or anything else, then you can connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn and ask your questions there. I will try answering most of them. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.